Ice, ice, baby. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, ice, yes, ice can take you from 20,000 to $100,000 a month over the next 90 days with zero focus on getting more leads or doing more marketing. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you how. My name is Robert Smith, and I help high coaches, consultants, and agency owners implement a proven sales process to make an additional $80,000 to $100,000 every single month. But just how proven is this sales process? Warning, some big name drops incoming. But, anyways, I started out as a financial planner. I had like 4 different licenses doing insurance, securities, financial budgets, all that fun stuff. But I got into the high ticket space not long after, around 2016, as a consultant for a little company called Traffic and Funnels. And for those of you that have never heard of them, I said little company ironically because they're kind of like the OG like internet marketing consulting firm, and they were essentially the authority on lead generation and sales in the marketing world for years. Right. And my first month with them was actually their first month crossing $1 million in revenue. Okay. And I was primarily working with Taylor Welch's brother, Peyton, and their top closer, a guy by the name of Cole Gordon. Okay, and I left Traffic and Funnels a few months later after seeing them grow to $1.5 million per month. So I got a very good insight as to not only what it takes to run an 8-figure operation, but what it takes to effectively grow one, and relatively quickly at that. So after leaving, I started my own agency, serving pretty much anyone and everyone that would pay me. And it wasn't until I kind of niched down into serving the personal injury attorneys, specifically doing motor vehicle accident cases for them. And it was at this point that I was able to kind of scale to that like 30 to 50K a month range. It was kind of inconsistent, but consistently in that range. But anyways, then the pandemic hit. And unfortunately, when the lockdown went into effect, it was essentially illegal to drive your cars around. And that was not good for the niche that I was in. Okay, so literally in less than 2 months, my revenue went from about 50K all the way down to 5, and I was already fairly close to burning out, so I kind of realized I had to get out of the agency space pretty quickly, right? So what I did was I reached out to that former colleague of mine that I worked with at Traffic and Funnels, Cole Gordon, to see if he knew any agency owners or coaching companies that were looking for high ticket closer. And I didn't know he had started his own company at the time, but he did. So he had lots of clients, and one of the clients, the very first one he referred me to, was Deepesh Mandalia, who at the time ran a very successful 7-figure e-commerce agency. And what he wanted to do was create a high ticket coaching program teaching other people how to run Facebook ads more effectively. The problem was he wasn't running Facebook ads for his own business. Okay, and he tried to get his program off the ground, but literally couldn't sell a single person on it for over 3 months. He actually had a full-time dedicated rep who wasn't able to sell any of it. But anyways, I told him about a fairly simple strategy to get people onto calls that I learned at Traffic and Funnels called the two-step. And basically, I would then go ahead and close the deals on the phone after he used the two-step post. And, even though these people had never heard of me, they never saw me, met me, or, had little to no communication other than maybe a text message before the call, yet for some reason, after a 30-minute conversation just over the phone, they were paying me $6,000 for this other guy's program. And the end result was, within 34 days, I generated a total of $103,000 cash collected. So this was the beginning of my 30-minute enrollment framework, which I'll reveal to you in just a few minutes. So the next notable client that I want to talk about is Jordan. Okay, and he was doing about $80,000 a month cash collected with his current sales team. And they had a very kind of like forced robotic presentation that essentially sapped the energy from the closer and made the call ended up having to be much longer than it needed to. We're talking like 60, 90 minutes on average. Okay, and this was kind of the beginning of the indoctrination strategy that I refer to as the pre-call guide. And Jordan, what he was doing was he was trying to have his closers attempt to be imposters or these authority figures that they were not. Okay, because Jordan was the authority figure. He was the expert at what it is that he does, not the reps. So I suggested that we switch it up. And I basically had Jordan record a video with all the energy and excitement and enthusiasm that he could muster up, record that one time, and then just make the prospects watch that video before a call, right? And what happened was, Attendance rates then skyrocketed. The call timers were not only drastically cut down, but obviously the conversions went up because the result was revenue was up to 370, with about 280 of that being cash collected. And that was all within 90 days. Okay, so now I basically had two parts to a system that would eventually become to known as my ICE method. And because they were proven to work in high ticket offers in very different niches, I was then, kind of introducing or figuring out the final piece of the strategy, which that came from my time working with Brian Page. Okay, and Brian Page, he has a $20,000 program that teaches short-term rental arbitrage. And really, that's just a fancy way of saying that he would teach people how to leverage other people's houses to create a passive source of income for themselves on things like Airbnb, VRBO, things of that nature, right? But anyways, when I first met Brian, he was doing about $120,000 a month, but he had 6 reps. So nobody was making money there reps wise. And really, Brian wasn't making much money either. But anyways, what we realized with Brian was that his audience was a little bit more technical or kind of analytical minded, and they wanted to see the stuff in writing. Okay, and what we did was we put this into the pre-call guide because we wanted to have one call closes, or at least give ourselves the highest probability of getting a one call close. Because when we initially started and we kind of realized they needed to see something, we were sending it to them after the call, and we realized that we were killing our own conversions by attempting to follow up with them more and get them on a call afterwards. Whereas if we sent them the PDF ahead of time, that is what would be the real needle mover. So what is the PDF that I'm referring to? Well, what we did was we went back to basics. I put together an old school direct response copy style PDF. So think David Ogilvy, who, if you're not familiar with him, he's kind of like the OG direct response copywriter who would work with major brands like Rolls Royce and Rolex and, luxury, brands, things of that nature. So anyways, the thing about David was he would write you a letter, like an honest to goodness letter. It would be mass produced, but they would send that to you. You would read that letter, and then you would mail him back a check to purchase whatever he wrote you that letter about. Okay, so in a very similar fashion, we want people to want to give you money by the time they finish reading this PDF. Okay, and it was this one change that massively improved Brian's bottom line. And obviously, there were some other things along the lines that we did, like replacing half of his sales team, for example, because unfortunately, they weren't the right culture fit. And if you have people on your team that are not the right culture fit, they will actually act like a cancer and spread, keeping the rest of your team and organization down overall. So it's important that everyone that be on your team is in fact the right culture fit. But anyways, this is what formed the final part of my ICE method strategy for helping close high ticket sales. Now, for those of you who feel stuck at a plateau, struggling to convert more leads into sales, and are overwhelmed with the pressure, I promise you there is a way out. There is a better way. So just for a second, I want you to imagine a life where you can make an extra $100,000 every single month like clockwork while having more time to focus on your passion. What would that be like? How would that feel? Okay, so if you currently have a good amount of leads and calls coming into your calendar, into your business every single week, the simplest action you can take right now is to implement the ICE method into your sales process. And I can almost promise you that you will see an increase in your revenue, you will have smoother operations, and an overall more efficient sales process that results in increased attendance rates and higher conversion rates as well. Should you choose to implement it? That's the thing. You have to actually implement it. Okay. Now, this method may seem simple, and that's because it is, but it also works. All right. So today I'm going to pull back the curtain on the ICE method and show you how you can have that implemented inside of your business over the next 90 days. So keep watching and I'll break it all down for you. All right. This system has been instrumental in helping individuals regain confidence in their business abilities, find ample time and freedom to pursue their passions, discover sustainable ways to grow their business, and more importantly, maximize their sales conversions, right? There's a whole lot of other stuff as well, but those are the primary things that this process helps you with. Now, I put together a presentation to essentially share the knowledge that my private clients pay for so that you can get access to it free of charge for a limited time. And if you're keen on accelerating your progress, well, that's definitely on the table or in the cards for you as well. And what I'll do is I'll fill you in on all of the details very shortly. So listen closely. I need to reveal the actual enemy that you're up against today. It's not what you think. This invisible adversary is a little pest known as lead focus. Okay, and this is known within certain circles of business coaching experts. And if it's new, if it's something that's new to you, let me just clarify. This enemy very well may be the hidden reason you're stuck at a revenue plateau. And this could be why it is that you're feeling all washed up and absolutely drained, or feel like you're stuck spinning your wheels and or banging your head against the wall. Okay, now let's touch on the misconception that the problem is solely due to your own shortcomings or abilities. Okay, it's not your fault. And because many people believe that focusing your resources on just getting more leads, because they think that's the ingredient, the magical key to increasing your revenue, unfortunately, that's not the case. I don't want you to be fooled. Okay, the misconception reinforces the idea that more leads equals more revenue. And the fact that you're watching this video right now tells me that you know this is simply bullshit. And many entrepreneurs and sales professionals have been fooled for years, led astray by that one harmful idea, and it's preventing them from scaling their business to the next level. Sadly, most end up feeling overwhelmed and burnt out, chasing more lead generation strategies and losing hope in their business's success, feeling like they're holding their own business back. And I don't want this for you. And if you're there, I don't want this for you any longer. So stop beating yourself up. Don't do that anymore, because I too fell for this misconception. I know that shifting from a lead focused approach to a conversion focused approach will pave the way for the success that you're longing for. Now, obviously, you need leads, don't get me wrong, but leads aren't your problem. You have leads, you have calls being booked. Increasing the number of leads and calls will lead to more work, but probably not more revenue, right? But what steps could you take right now? Let's dive in. Leads are relatively easy to come by. What's not easy to come by is a sales process that consistently and predictably pulls in $100,000 per month or more in new client deals. Okay, this strategy has been my golden ticket since those days of working with industry giants like Traffic and Funnels, Brian Page, Akbar Sheikh, and many more. Okay, you must sidestep the trap of focusing solely on marketing and not on sales. Running ads, emails, booking calls, then just doing one typical sales call and expecting big revenue numbers, it's no longer a thing in 2024. It doesn't work in the new economy. This strategy is a veiled pitfall in the world of business coaching, and here's the reason. Focusing on marketing without a solid sales process in place is essentially a recipe for disaster. You know this because you're probably experiencing it yourself right now. But once again, don't worry. I'm about to share the alternative that you need if your goal is to increase revenue instead of putting even more of your focus and resources on getting more leads. Okay, the ICE method is made up of 3 core elements that when implemented properly, you can see your revenue grow from 20, 30, 50,000, wherever it is that you're at, to $100,000 per month, or add an extra $100,000 per month with zero focus on getting more leads. Okay, the first is going to be I, the indoctrination content. C is communication. This is what happens before, during, and after the sales call. And then the E is going to be execution and implementation. All right, now the indoctrination content, this is what we do before the sales call, because the sale starts occurring well before they ever show up, right? This plays a massive part in the success rate of the actual sales call. And there are 4 main parts to what we have as part of the indoctrination content. The first is going to be the VSL. Second is the thank you page, followed by an old school PDF, as well as social proof. All right. Now, the communication, this is from the moment that your prospect books a call, there's going to be kind of like a natural regression that takes place that's hardwired into us all. And unfortunately, that's not good news for your sales figures. Okay, so when a prospect books a call, he or she is very excited. Then 15 minutes later on, life continues to happen to them, and that excitement has been diluted quite a bit if they even remember that they booked the call in the first place. Okay, so one day later, if they even remember, that excitement is now dwindled down to probably 10% of what it was immediately after booking their call. And if it's more than a day later, the chances of them actually showing up, remembering that they booked the call, and or having any level of excitement or enthusiasm, let alone converting, it doesn't make for good reading, right? So how do we mitigate against this challenge? In the ICE method, a prospect booking a call isn't the objective. That's what you're already good at. You've already got a lot of calls being booked. Okay. So that's just the start of the communication chain. With this method, we change the natural regression and waning of interest and we flip it so that it's the exact opposite. Okay, the prospect actually becomes more excited about the call in the hours and days leading up to it because you've given them a reason to show up and be motivated to attend the call, right? Because the difference is that this has on your conversion rates, among all other things being equal, is going to be undeniable. The reason that's undeniable is because of the level of know, like, and trust factor that the prospect now has because they believe that not only can they get results with your program, that they know exactly who you are, how it is that you can help them, but they really just want to know how much this has cost and when can I get started. That's how you want them to show up to the call, right? So how is it possible that we can completely reverse this natural instinct of a prospect and get them into what I just described? It's known as the buying pocket, right? So how can we get them, the prospect, into that buying pocket when our competitors can't? Okay, and this is because of the pre-call communication. 90% of businesses are just spamming appointment reminders to their prospects and not actually nurturing them. And of course, we send reminder texts, don't get me wrong, but the secret sauce lies in two actions that we've tested beyond a shadow of a doubt. So you've heard me mention this pre-call guide. Okay, so we set up the pre-call guide, which not only increases the excitement to do the call, but then we're also going to send a personalized video, have the rep, the closer that's taking the call, send a personalized video message on the morning of the call. Okay, and what we found is with a lot of booked calls, the prospect can't even remember booking it in the first place unless you have those other pieces, the pre-call guide and the video reminder, in place. Okay, and it's super simple, but the difference between like a 20 to 30% show up rate and a 70 to 80% show up rate, that will make or break your business. Okay, but it goes beyond just attendance rates. When this is in place, your conversion rates on the call increase dramatically as well because of the communication during that sales call. What we do is we basically have the team follow the 30-minute enrollment framework that we've developed, which allows us to not only do more calls, have a higher conversion rate, but keep those call timers to 30 minutes or less. Right. And we have a uniform process now that's so much easier and simpler to teach sales teams with so that we can get to scale faster, right? Versus trying to make them into imposters that they're not, right? So, anyways, right now, you're probably in a situation where every single sales call at least feels a little different, which means that for 5 sales calls, you think there's 5 different approaches that are needed, and those 5 different approaches require different skills. And the more skills that are required, the more difficult it is to sell and scale. So if you think in terms of hiring talented, expensive sales rock stars versus hiring average salespeople who simply follow a proven process, the 30-minute enrollment framework, what do you think is going to be easier to scale up. And regardless of who it is that you're hiring, if you're not converting at least 30 to 40%, which that's my clients' average conversion rates, if you're not converting in that 30 to 40% or higher range, is your business really poised to be successful with long-term growth? Okay. So anyways, let's go back to the communication post call. Once the call is over, our prospects are dropped into two sequences: email and SMS. After testing different variations of those for years, we now know what works best in terms of actual conversions. So, what we do is we combine that with a CRM setup that makes the job of tracking prospects post call super easy. And you have a post call system that can now add an extra 2 to 300% more revenue over the course of the year, because now you're not relying on the sales reps to do the follow up or to figure out how to do the follow up. We're simply deploying the automated process that we know converts, right? So then the E, as I mentioned before, is execution. Imagine if you had a simple framework that you could install into your business that would make your sales process work seamlessly. That's what we've built with the ICE method. Every role has a clearly defined action and set of roles and responsibilities, right? So we know where the CEO fits into this, what his or her specific tasks are. The setters, the triage callers, the closers, they all have a simple and clearly defined role within the ICE method system. Without this, the whole process can become, it says a little, but a lot chaotic, right? And chaos equals inefficiency. Inefficiency equals lost revenue. All right, so let's take a moment. You just received a treasure trove of insight, and it's all right to feel a little overwhelmed about where to begin. So here's the deal. You're at a pivotal crossroad with three routes to take, each requiring a decision from you now. Option 1, remain static. How do you foresee your life unfolding in the coming months if you continue to do exactly what you're doing right now? One of the definitions of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. Try envisioning a year from now continuing to do what you've been doing. What's that look like? Imagine a future where your business stagnates. The revenue remains stagnant, the crippling bottlenecks continue to squeeze your operations, and the life force literally out of your body. You're stuck in that endless cycle of the status quo. Then we have option 2. Option 2 is you venture forward solo using the knowledge that you've acquired today. Perhaps fortune will favor you, and eventually your efforts might pay off. However, this path is longer, it's riddled with more pitfalls, and there's a chance you might never reach your destination. And even if you do, you've lost a whole lot, or you've wasted a whole lot of time and money along the way. Yet it's still more promising than option 1, though, wouldn't you agree? However, there is a better path, the third path, and it's a wise selection that the truly intelligent individuals make to expedite their journeys. This is the most rapid and most efficient avenue to take your business to that $100,000 a month milestone, overcome the existing bottlenecks and future ones that you don't even know about yet, as well as scale to the next level, to the level that you desire, that you deserve, that you know you should be at, without having to invest any more money into another program or course. Okay, here's the kicker. There's absolutely no reason for you to tread this path alone. I've already blazed this trail for you. Our sales process has been refined and validated for years with numerous high-performing business owners and entrepreneurs across multiple different verticals. And it's been fashioned to help you break free from that BS of lead focus, the one obstacle standing between you and increasing your revenue, and providing a roadmap harnessing the power of the ICE method. Okay, so here's the best part. If you have leads coming into your business and you have a validated, a proven offer that you know works, you can actually deliver results on the back end, at least most of the time, okay, then option three is seeming like the quickest and most effective way to get you from struggling to break through that, 30 to 50K a month ceiling to consistent $100,000 per month or more. All right. And we help business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals achieve that additional $100,000 a month by building out their ICE method sales system for them, all while freeing up their time and attention to focus on other aspects of the business. To be clear, there will be some work that we have to do together to build the foundation. But once the foundation is built, you can literally remove yourself from the sales process. Okay, and this proven blueprint can work for you even if you feel like you're pushing harder and working longer hours and just barely struggling to get by. The truth is, you don't need to work harder. You need to work smarter. I used to be in your shoes. I thought if I just worked 10, 12, 14-hour days every single day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, I'll be fine. Wrong. That is a recipe for burnout, my friends. Okay, the ICE method is designed to help you overcome this burden and operate at peak efficiency. All right, you believe that you must be doing something wrong to not see the results. In reality, the issue isn't you, it's just a systematic flaw in the business model. The ICE method dispels this myth and provides a proven way to success that has worked for countless others. Okay, here's I mentioned Brian Page earlier. I don't know if I told you, but we took him from $120,000 a month to over $500,000 cash collected inside of 90 days. And I know I mentioned Akbar earlier. We're working some of his AI leads because he knows that I'm a real sales pro and I'm the person to help him get there. Right? This is Jordan's screenshot that he sent me from his KPI trackers: $377,000 of revenue, 288,000 cash collected so far, their best month in history, right? And then I don't know if I talked about Henry earlier, but he's one of my clients that I helped generate $124,000 day. Did $124,000 in a single day. Okay, and then this is from Dan. He's a real estate coach who teaches other people how to raise private capital, and we did a free free live virtual event. And on the back end of that, we sold over $65,000 of tickets for his live in-person workshop, right? And you may think that the only way to grow your business is to do everything yourself because cash flow is king. And I agree, cash flow is king, but you shouldn't be doing everything yourself. This is a common misconception among entrepreneurs that is simply not true. And the ICE method gives you a sales process that can free up your time, reduce stress, and explode your revenue, or even if you think you have tried everything. Okay, but before I tell you how we can help, I need to tell you what this isn't so that there's no false expectations. All right? The ICE method isn't about relying on ineffective programs and courses that promise spectacular results overnight but deliver none. It's not about pushing yourself harder and working longer hours only to be left exhausted and dissatisfied with the outcomes. If you're looking for a quick fix or a magic pill to make your business a success, then this is definitely not for you. Okay, and it's definitely not some generic business coaching approach that you've seen or tried before. I think you've been deceived enough by the marketers, so I don't need to go into too much detail on that. This is the bona fide real deal. The ICE method is the direct result of years of study and practical application. I've personally closed millions of dollars of other people's products myself and built teams that have done tens of millions of dollars for my clients' programs. All right. So I've gone through those years of digging through the trenches to discover what actually works. And then, like I said, applying it to the real world. Okay, witnessing the results of over 100 business owners just like you, and this passionate research that also revealed very specific patterns that the ultra successful do, patterns that are virtually hidden from the public that took years for me to simplify and put into a system that's able, that is, yeah, that makes it able for me to teach other people how to do and actually implement. This wasn't something that came up overnight. So now, starting today, their success can be your success. Just imagine the ICE method as your proven path to taking yourself out of the sales calls, increasing your monthly revenue to 100K, or adding an extra 100K a month, because now you have that predictable, consistent revenue forecast coming in and month out, thus escaping the cycle of feeling stuck and being able to now elevate your business to new heights. So here's what I want to do for you. First, I will audit your entire sales process in its current form. And if you have a team, I'll audit them too. Next, I want to help ensure that you have an irresistible offer that's a no-brainer for your ideal avatar. Then, we build out your pre-call guide and customize the 30-minute enrollment framework together. After that, I will actually validate this entire system by closing some of the calls myself for you. All right. And if it's a slam dunk, what then happens is I'll recruit, train, and manage the sales team so that they can duplicate what I've done on those initial calls. Once again, now removing you entirely from that sales process. The end result is a sales process that consistently and predictably produces $100,000 per month or more in revenue, because for every 4 to 6 appointments per day that you can put on the calendar, I can bring in a new sales rep who can realistically produce $100,000 per month or more within his or her first 30 days. Okay, this is the norm. This is not the exception. For every 4 to 6 appointments, a rep should be able to do at least $100,000 in revenue. But this is not for you if you don't already have a steady flow of leads and calls coming in. I'm not going to pretend to be your lead generation guy, because I'm not. I'm your conversion rate optimization guy. I will help you extract the highest amount of conversions possible out of your existing lead flow. Okay? This is also not for you if you're not willing to remove yourself from the sales process. If you want to be the person taking the calls, or if you want to be micromanaging and into the nitty-gritty, great. This program is not for you though. Also, if you don't have the funds to invest in growing your revenue for at least the next 3, but ideally 6 or more months so that you can get to the multiple 7, figure run rate that you're looking for, then it's probably not for you. But if it does sound like a fit, the next step would be to book a call with me and my team. Okay, and on that call, you'll see the 30-minute enrollment framework live, right? You'll get to experience it yourself. Also, you'll get to witness the pre-call guide in full effect yourself. Okay, so if it's a good fit for the both of us, then you'll be invited to become a client. There's no pressure, no hard sells. It's just a conversation. So to book your call, go ahead, click the button below. I'll see you soon, my friends.